All right, we are here. Hello and welcome everyone to tonight's webinar. We are so glad that you could join us for this very important webinar on mentally fit parenting, especially in this silly season. Lots of tools and practical things that we are going to be talking about. During this session, we are going to explore how mindfulness supports mental fitness and strengthens your family's ability to manage emotions and stress. Very much needed in this season, I feel. We will learn some simple everyday mindfulness skills you can use together and on your own, and new ways that you might need to reset and recharge during this holiday season. We also want to invite everybody to ask questions throughout the session. So there is a little Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So if you click Q&A, you should be able to enter any questions throughout the session and we'll address those at the very end if we have time. And we also want to make sure you all know that this webinar is being recorded. So if you experience any technical difficulties, if you get booted out or if you are trying to, re-enter and that doesn't work, you can catch our team either via the chat here in Zoom, or you can email schools@gotchaforlife.org and we'll assist you as quickly as possible. So let's get started. I'm pumped for this. Before we get into the content, I do want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting, the land that we live, work, and connect. We want to honour the strength and the resilience of our First Nations peoples and their profound practices in community care and healing. Guided by the wisdom of Australia's First Peoples, we strive to build culturally respectful mental fitness frameworks that foster strong, connected communities, and we pay our respects to elders past, present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people, especially those who join us here today. I am absolutely thrilled to be here this evening and joined by Jacqui Jones. Jacqui is a wellbeing consultant, the author of the Greatfulness Guide, and founder of the Greatfulness Wellbeing Program. And she has over 25 years experience in education and social work. Jacqui, you have inspired thousands of students and families through your dedication to nurturing wellbeing and emotional resilience, as well as the work that you do as a consultant for us at Gotcha for Life. Welcome to the webinar, Jacqui.
Thank you so much, Joy. Very happy to be here. And thank you to everybody joining us and for giving up your time this evening to be here. I'm really hopeful that you'll walk away with some practical tools and some strategies to help you through these next few weeks with school holidays looming for a lot of us as parents. Yes, in addition to Joy's lovely introduction, I'm also a parent to two teenagers. So I've got a 17-year-old boy and a 15-year-old daughter. So everything I'm going to talk about tonight, Joy, I live and literally breathe this stuff to manage my own well-being. And, I'm hopeful that I'm planting the seeds in my two children. I started this journey for myself personally about 12 years ago, 13 years ago. So, it's been a slow progression, but certainly life-changing for me and something that I'm really confident speaking around now because I just know that it's brought so many positive changes to my own life.
And I'm excited to be hearing from you because, as a mum of not quite teens, well, one teen, I've got a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old who are off eating dinner somewhere in the house. And like many of the parents who have joined us, this season gets chaotic. So I'm excited for this. So let's start with this concept of well-being and mental fitness. How do you explain it in a way that makes sense for your kids and for other families and children?
I'm going to flick through my slides here, Joe, as we're talking. So I like to start with the concept of well-being to begin with, and I like to use a bit of a gardening analogy here. So we all have well-being. It's like having our own personal garden. And sometimes, that garden is absolutely thriving. The sun is shining, everything feels great, it's in flow, and it's very joyful. And then there's the times when these external circumstances, the stress, the chaos, the storm come in, and it can really rock our sense of well-being, our foundations. Mental fitness, I believe, is those proactive tools and strategies that we're doing in between all these, these dynamic weather patterns, or the proactive tools that we bring into our daily lives to help strengthen our resilience, so that we can better cope with life's challenges when they come up. And I guess mental fitness is like our gardening tools. It's like our set of tools that we have, and mindfulness is just one of those tools. And I know, I've taught mindfulness for many years now, and some people love it, other people think, I just can't do it, it's difficult. So I'm going to hopefully talk you through some easy ways to look at it tonight and how you can apply it to your own personal well-being as a parent, carer, teacher, and also help your children as well. So there's two types of mindfulness when we teach mindfulness. There's the informal practices. So this is sort of your point of observation, if you will. It's your tool of standing back and really starting to explore what's in your garden. You might notice that there's some beautiful flowers growing. You might notice that there's some weeds. And what do I need to tend to in this present moment? What needs a bit of TLC? So that's your sort of informal practices. I'll introduce some of those tonight as well. And then there's the more formal practices. Then this is how we build our mental capacities, I guess, in terms of meditation and breath work. And it can be something as simple as coming back to your breath. And research, shows that if you consistently meditate for a period of 8 weeks, say for 20 minutes a day, then there's going to be really positive changes to your brain. So your prefrontal cortex, which is your decision-making center, expands, and your amygdala, which is your fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, it will start to shrink. So it is this literally like when I'm talking to children, I say it's like taking your brain off for a gym session, the actual formal practices. Mindfulness is just essentially an invitation just to slow down and notice what's happening as it's happening without getting caught up in it. So it can look like what's happening in your garden today, if you wanted to use that sort of terminology with your children. And as parents and carers and teachers, we're not only responsible for our personal garden, but we have these little people that we're trying to guide and help and sort of really observe what's going on in their garden as well. And I'm sure, Joy, that there's sometimes you just know that something's happened in your child in the day, like the way they climb into the car and they might be in a mood, or you can see through behavior that something has happened throughout the day. And as a parent, this is where we get to sort of be present with them and really just, rather than react, which is so instinctive, stand back and sort of acknowledge that there's something going on and really explore that with them, try to help them acknowledge or see what's going on and get curious about it.
I love that analogy. It's such a powerful visual aid. I'm a very visual person, so I just can imagine that. And that importance of taking the time to just, okay, stop, pause, and be attentive and present for our kids instead of just thinking, oh, this whole garden's in shambles. It could just be one part of that, one part of that day. So that makes sense. And I love that. I am conscious though that we live in a very busy world and pausing often feels almost impossible. So I'm going to ask you the question that's probably on everyone's minds. How can parents actually do this?
I know it seems counterintuitive. We are taught from an early age to just, if we get this and we've got to do this, and it's sort of the hustle culture. We live in
Yeah.
a hustle culture, and it's almost like, like I was saying, our wellbeing garden is really reactive to external circumstances. We as humans are reactive to external circumstances. But when we stop and we pause, what we're doing is we're opening up this space for ourselves, and we're sort of inviting this internal shift. So we're creating a pause to really get some space in our day to create an internal shift, because it's not until we shift the internal response that the external will start to shift, if that makes sense. So, the power of the pause, often as parents and carers, we're juggling so many balls that it's not until we climb into bed at night that we go, oh, okay, now I've got time. And, you might be physically exhausted, but that's when your mind starts up, because it's literally now recognizing, hang on a minute, there's a space here. And
Yeah.
so your mind will start to, think about what went wrong today, or it will start to get anxious about what's coming up next week. So if we can build these pauses into our day, and it doesn't take long, we're going to do one now in a minute. If we can build the pauses in during the day and create that space for ourselves during the day, then those that overthinking or the sense of overwhelm at night. And I've been in classrooms with so many children that all can talk about this as well, when their head hits the pillow and they just can't switch
That's when
off.
their brain gets busy.
Yeah, the busy brain in the evening. So it's just this invitation to really check in with yourself as you're going through the course of your day. And when you can see on the screen there now, Joy, so when we allow ourselves to pause, we are also role modeling this sense of presence and calm for our children. And we're showing them, we're not telling them. And I think that's a key difference for kids, because we've all got mirror neurons as well. So when we're actively showing them, then they're more likely to keep doing it, because you're role modeling it for them. Monkey see, monkey do. So I'm just going to walk you through for all the parents and carers that are on, and teachers, a really simple check-in activity that you can do. This is a great one to do in the morning or in the evening, whenever you've got a spare, couple of minutes. It doesn't take long at all. Now, when I'm teaching mindfulness, I always talk about the most efficient way to breathe. So, many of us are mouth breathers and chest breathers, which means we're sort of taking short, sharp breaths, like. And you might notice that when in times of fear or
Mm.
stress or anxiety, it's that short, sharp breathing. And you can almost feel it. And so what we want to do in those moments is really try and take a deep breath right down into our belly, because what you're doing is activating your parasympathetic nervous system, which is opposite to your fight, flight, freeze. That's your relaxation. So a really good way to do it is in through the nose. Imagine that breath going right down into your stomach. Hold it, and then out through the mouth. And you can do your whole body. So take another big breath in through the nose. Imagine that breath going right down into your stomach. Hold and release. And then take one more in through the nose, right down into your belly, and then release. Now just close your eyes, and I just want you to just focus on your normal breath. So just notice what it feels like. You might like to place one hand on your chest, one hand on your stomach, and just notice what it feels like just to breathe your normal breath. Just notice if your chest is rising, if your stomach's rising when you breathe in, and then just what's happening on the exhale. Now, I'm just going to ask two questions. I want you to just go with whatever pops into your mind after I've asked the questions. So the first question is, my mind feels. Just notice what comes in. And then the second question is, my body feels. Notice what comes in. And just take another nice big breath in for me, in through the nose. out through the mouth. And then when you're ready, just opening your eyes. Good. So you've just done your first little mindfulness practice. Are you happy to share, Joy, what came up for you in your mind and body?
Ooh, my mind felt full.
Yes, yes,
That was the first thing that came.
yeah.
And my body felt tired.
Yeah, and that's just it's so common to hear that. My mind feels busy, my body feels tired. And
Mm.
so just in that simple little check-in practice, you've learned a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've learned that your body's probably overactive sorry, your brain's overactive and your body's maybe just feeling like it's exhausted, it's tired, and it's such a common thing, even in kids as well. So just noticing that and then creating space for, okay, now that I know that, what can I
Mm.
do about it? How can I invite in some practices or some self-care or some strategies to try and balance that out a little bit for myself? Um, yeah, so that's the power of the pause. And you've just started. And look, you'll notice when even if you're meditating for the first time, you'll probably notice that your mind wanted to wander off. Every time you notice your mind wandering off, you bring it back to the breath. You use your breath as an anchor, and what keeps us in the present moment. Because really, there is nothing else. We've only got the present moment. It's our mind that wants to go everywhere
To
else.
go everywhere else. Yeah, that was beautiful. It only took a few minutes, like not
That's
even,
right.
yeah, they're
That's
very
right.
powerful.
Yeah, yeah. So and often we think we're too busy, but that didn't take long at all to do that. And then once we get into this habit of creating these moments of pause, then the invitation is to zoom in even further or expand those moments and turn them into micro moments. So create moments of intention. I call it the small things effect. These little micro moments, when they're done with conscious awareness, which is what mindfulness is, it's just this sense of observation, curiosity. When we do it with intention, it can have a really big impact. Like daily things you can see here in the slide, like they're just washing the dishes. But these little moments can become powerful sort of portals for us to have deep conversations or even moments of play and fun and things like that that we often get pushed aside because we are so busy and we've all got tight schedules and there's so many other things that we need to prioritize. So it doesn't take long. It's just about creating these micro moments when you create the pause. Um, and you've all probably, everybody on the call, on the webinar, has probably experienced the power of these micro moments. I'd love for you to perhaps share in the chat right now something that comes to mind about your childhood. It may have been the tiniest little moment of connection with your mum, with your dad, maybe with a loved one, even with a pet, but it didn't take long, but you can think back to that and know that it had a powerful impact. So I'd love to hear some examples of this because I think we've all experienced these micro moments throughout our lives. They're powerful moments of connection.
One that comes to me as soon as you cycle through those options was my dog in high school. I
Yeah.
remember that I have a distinct memory of him actually coming home after a really stressful day of class and just sitting in the backyard. Like I kicked off my school shoes, sat there, was still in my uniform, and he kind of just came into my lap. And it was like this big exhale. It was
Mm.
just like such a nice moment. And we hear it from students all the time that their pets are part of their village, and it is like sometimes that moment, that little micro moment is the something that happens after a really busy day.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, that's funny. Pets are wonderful for micro moments because they're so
They show up
easygoing.
for you.
They do. They don't talk back. I think back because I grew up on a farm and I think back to the micro moments with my horse. Like just getting on my horse after school was just amazing. It just took me to another place. So we've got an unexpected hug from a teenager. See, and that's it. Like it doesn't take much at all. It could be an unexpected smile a complete stranger. And so we can receive these micro moments, but we can also create them for ourselves and for our children. So just a little shift in what we do, but we've got to create the space for them. And it's just the power of the intention behind it as well.
Yeah, I really love that idea of just turning our consciousness to to those things. Like they are happening, but often life is just also happening in the midst of it. So it's just creating that conscious awareness and that intention to recognize that there is this beautiful thing that's happening right now. How do you go about weaving this into, I guess, your daily practice and your daily life?
Mm. You look, once you get the hang of it, I think it's actually you can weave it into almost anything, like car conversations with my teenager. Like I value those moments when I'm driving him to school because it is a time when we connect through conversation, and we might not necessarily get a chance throughout the day. So sort of just setting the intention of that's your time to check in with them and check to see how they're doing. And it might be different for different family members. But I've had the privilege of working with Gotcha now for the past year and understanding their protective factors as well. And you can weave, this conscious awareness, these micro moments, these mindful moments into the protective factors as well around building emotional adaptability, social connection, asking for help. And these little moments then become the big moments. The first one is helping our children, helping ourselves understand that feelings are guides. They're like the signposts in our lives. They are letting us know what needs attention. And I always say to children, there's no wrong feeling. It's what we do with the feeling. And one of the fastest ways is to sit with the feeling, validate it. Every feeling is there to help guide us. Anger's there because somebody might have crossed the boundary. So that's when your well-being, your personal garden, you might need to put some fences up. So it's just acknowledging what's going on. Your body is always talking to you. And in mindfulness, we talk about tuning into that, like tuning into the knot in the stomach, or the racing heart, or whatever that your body is telling you. It's trying to send you a message. That's why they're called feelings, because they are these feelings that we're feeling in our body to help guide us forward. So that's it with emotional adaptability, starting the conversation and saying, there's no bad feelings. What are you feeling? What are you noticing in your body right now? And then the second thing is this around connection. And I always come back to connection with self first, because I think
Mm.
that often gets
We forget that.
absolutely waylaid. Like we just get so busy. I know
Especially as parents. As
yeah,
parents, we completely forget. We're like, oh, we're here for our kids, or as
yeah,
teachers, like we're here for our student. Totally
yeah.
forget to connect to
Yeah.
self.
Connect to self. And I think then, children are very good at picking up authenticity as well. So if we're connected to self, we just seem stronger. I don't know about you, Joy, but you can sense when somebody, if you feel like there's that self-love or that self-connection there. And then that the invitation is connection with your child before direction or correction. So before jumping in to ask them to do something, one of the easiest things to do is connect. So go to their world, acknowledge what they're up to, ask them about their day, try and connect with them first, and then direct them or correct them. We all know what it feels like for somebody to jump in and just correct you, when there's been no connection beforehand, it can feel very harsh. So this connection first creates safety, and it creates trust with our children. And then the last one is around help seeking and role modeling this for our children, asking for help. Sometimes it can be hard. I don't know about you, Joy, but I grew up in the country, and we were sort of told, we could handle everything on our own. There was no need to ask for external help. We've got it all. And, yes, look, that's very stoic, but there's sometimes that asking for help is one of the most bravest and one of the best things you can ever do. So role model that. And it could be just, picking up the phone and asking a friend if they can give you a hand, or especially over this busy season. And if you're one of those mums that sort of tends to take on a lot, entertaining and doing all these things for so many different people, don't be afraid to ask for help. It's the perfect opportunity to role model that for our children as well. Then just moving on to some more, my top 5 ways to really create these micro moments, these points of conscious awareness for ourselves and for our children. The first one is practicing time in. And so we've sort of touched on this, coming back to your own self-care. I like to call it time in. And I've called it time in ever since my kids were very, very small. I used to say, I'm going for some time in, and I'd go and I'd do some meditation. And look, sometimes they would come and do it with me, other times they would not. But again, it's about role modeling that and planting the seeds. And they might come back to it later on down the line in their own path, in their own journeys. But showing them in every time you choose self-care for yourself, you're actually role modeling how important that is to our kids. And rest time as well, the value of rest time. The next one is creating rituals and routines. And so there's plenty of these things that happen at birthdays, Christmas, Easter, but trying to bring it about in a daily, in our daily living, our habits and things like that. We've got plenty of rituals that are probably like get your shoes on, put your jumper on, get into the car, and it can feel a bit Groundhog Day. So I think the invitation here is to try and mix it up a bit. If you've got a child that is having difficulty sleeping, start a sleep time ritual or routine for them. Get them to come off a device an hour before bed, maybe run them a warm bath. I know, even running their hands under cold water, and doing some little self-care things like that to help them prepare for that transition to bed. Meditation, using some meditation, some guided meditations as well. And with older kids, routine around study and things like that. Our kids absolutely thrive with structure and routine. I'm not sure if you've noticed that yourself, Joy, but it's again goes back to that safety. They feel safe. They know what to
Predictability,
expect.
yeah.
Yeah, they know what to expect. So, mix it up over this holiday season. Think of some new ways. It could be, a Sunday morning breakfast or a Friday night pizza, movie night, whatever it might be. But just think of again, they become the big things. When they've left home and they're living their own life, they're the types of thing that they're going to look back and think about, we used to do that every Friday night, or we used to go for breakfast every Sunday morning. It's often those little moments that we reflect on as we get older. I only know that because I feel like I'm getting a lot older, Joy.
We're starting that reflecting. Me too.
Absolutely, absolutely. The next one is practicing gratitude, and our human. And I know this. None of this seems like rocket science. The trick to this is actually doing it. So I think we all know this to some degree, as parents, as carers, as teachers. We've all heard it before 1,000 times, and I guess my invitation to everybody on here tonight is: we know this stuff. Can you take the next leap and actually do it, actually apply it and notice those shifts? And yes, the shifts won't happen straight away, but I guarantee they will happen. I say well-being and making these shifts, it's a bit like driving a jumbo jet. When a pilot's turning the direction of a jumbo jet, he doesn't turn the wheel and the jumbo jet just sort of jolts to the left or to the right. He moves the thing, and then the jumbo jet slowly transitions. Like the passengers don't even really notice it's happening. And these practices, these daily habits, routines, strategies, whatever you want to call them, is a bit the same. Like there's small little micro moments that we can start stacking on top of each other. And if we're doing it consciously and consistently, the results will show over a course of time. And so practicing gratitude, going back to the fact that our minds have this negativity bias. So, it's so easy for us as human beings to really tune into what's going wrong. And this is an invitation to help ourselves and our children acknowledge what's going right. And a great example of this, when my kids were in primary school, I remember getting in the car, I was racing them to school. I was delivering a session and I'm going down the back streets of Lane Cove trying to get them into school. And of course, I get stuck behind a garbage truck. And
Oh,
my reaction was just like, oh no, I'm going to be late. And you can feel it. My body
yeah.
was like, okay, the stress response had started up. I was like, oh no. And yes, of course, the kids know, don't they? They can also
Yes,
feel it,
they
the
can
catalyst.
sense it.
Oh,
Absolutely.
they can see it anyway. And in that moment, I've been doing this long enough now that I just took a deep breath and I looked at my son who was in the passenger seat and I said, thank God for garbage trucks. And he looked at me and he was like, oh my goodness, I think she's lost the plot. And then he got curious. He said, what do you mean? And I said, well, imagine if we didn't have garbage trucks. Imagine the mess. And so my daughter then piped up in the back and she was like, oh, yeah, imagine. And so we had this wonderful conversation then about imagine if we didn't have garbage trucks. And we all sort of, the whole dynamic of that conversation changed. Rather than me going into stress mode, I decided to practice gratitude instead, and it really did shift the rest of the car ride. So I was still late, but you know what? You can't you can't those things you can't control.
But you could be late and stressed or
Yep.
late and grateful. Like,
Exactly, exactly. So, there's little things you can do with your children, gratitude jars, journaling, having conversations at dinner. What went well for you today? What have you done? What did you do something nice for somebody else? Just bringing it into everyday conversations just to help them notice that there's something going well as well. Because so often our kids will come to us and want to talk about things that are going wrong, and that's fine. They often need validation and they need to vent their thoughts and their worries, and that's good because the communication's there, but also getting them to understand that, look, these things have happened, and maybe not right then and there, but a later conversation. Tell me what something good that happened today as well. Okay, so the next one is these two fit really well together. So catching the good. So often as parents and carers, teachers, we feel like we should be fixing or correcting our children. We have this urge to tell them what they're doing wrong. And again, it goes back to the negativity bias. Um, so, catch them when they're doing something good or when they've really shown a good sense of regulation. So another example was my son, this was a bit later on now, he's a teenager, and we'd ordered takeaway one night and he had a burger and the burger arrived and it was missing something. I think it was missing the sauce or the cheese or something. Anyway, he opened the burger and I could see the utter disappointment on his face and you could see sort of the blood rising and I was like, oh, and I watched him like I was just watching him and he just went and took a breath and he
mm,
just sat
mm,
down and I didn't say anything, I left it. But then later on that night I said, you handled that really well. I noticed that you took a breath and you decided that it just wasn't worth reacting. And he said, yeah, I did. And just catching him doing that is then reinforcing for him, oh, actually, that was very empowering that I didn't react. So it becomes empowering for them because now we've noticed. Like he
mm,
decided to do that in the moment and didn't really expect any kudos for it. But the
mm.
fact that I noticed and then confirmed that, validated that to him, yeah, it just reinforces, oh, okay, maybe that is a good way to react or respond. And then slowing down, just perfect opportunity during the holidays. I know there's going to be lots of things happening, but pajama days when you can. Just doing slow things, baking, not rushing out the door if you can, or
Mm.
going and allocating time in the morning to use a lot of energy, and then coming back and having that time in the afternoon is really good as well.
I love these. And I can see some comments in the chat too. Like Jen's just, noted, love the reminder that we can choose gratitude even when it's challenging. And I also love in that example, we catch the good, Jacqui, that even if you didn't like you may have deliberately not said it in that moment, but later in the day you came back and had that conversation and recognized the good even later. And so even if we miss the opportunity for the conversation in the moment, we can still reinforce the good and catch the good later on, which is really encouraging. Because sometimes you might forget to be able, or you don't get a chance to say it, or they're in front of lots of people, but you can still reinforce the good in that. So that was really good. I love all of these. And I love the concept of time in. I've never used that, but I just, you're reinforcing how important it is to role model. Because even like I'm a huge journaler. I love journaling. Have tried with my kids to get them into journaling. And my 13-year-old who like just thinks, why would you use paper and pen? The other, like, well, I would get him to journal every now and again, and he'd be like, oh, do I have to? But then one night earlier this term, he said to me he was like, oh, I can't get to sleep, and I'm like, okay, do you need some help? And then the next day he said, I couldn't get to sleep, Mum, but I journaled and I got to sleep, and I was like, what?
Absolutely.
After all that resistance, and so
Yeah.
you're right, it does pass on all those
Yes.
things.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the power of writing things down, like so often in the middle of the night when your worries can creep up on you
Mm,
and if you've got no one there to talk to, you don't want to wake people up, just putting it down on piece of
getting it out
paper
of here.
is enough to get it out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I love these. I love that this is all stuff that, as you said, can build into everyday life. Like it doesn't have to be mammoth change or big change or just like slowly turning that jumbo jet.
Yeah.
My next question then is, what happens when chaos strikes?
Mm,
What do we do when we're really overwhelmed, as I
yeah.
envisage has happened to many people, especially in the lead up to event season and holidays and Christmas and all of that kind of
Yeah. Oh, well, it's just part of it, like I know as being a parent, we have the best of intentions most of the time until something goes wrong. And then it's like, oh my goodness, not again, and it could be the slightest thing. It could be somebody spills something. It could be a sibling argument, whatever it is. And so what happens usually is we have the event, we have the sibling argument, and then we react. We go in, we try and solve it, or we just want peace and quiet. So, or you want to avoid the confrontation. So we go in and we just react. We're like, you two, you need to be quiet. I'm working, or whatever. You've got stuff going on. There's that reaction. We go into fight, flight, freeze, fawn.
Mhm.
With mindfulness, the invitation is to the events there because we're never going to get rid of the events. The events are constantly happening. Like life is a series of events, some of them great, some of them not so great. So what can we do instead is bring in the pause. So, and I really encourage you to try this one. I really encourage all parents on to try this one. So you have the event, say it's your children arguing and you're observing this argument and you're just about to lean in and sort it all out. Instead, I want you to pause, take a big breath, and maybe just turn your back if you can, put some physical distance between yourself and the children. If they're not really, not at each other, there's no one at risk of danger there. You can try and walk away. Remember, they're watching for your reaction as well. So the more hyped we're going to be, the more hyped the whole thing can become. So if we approach this with mindful presence, with a sense of calmness, then we're role modeling that. And I can say to them, and I've done this one many, many times now, I think you two can sort this one out. And I'm not adding fuel to the fire. I'm literally walking away. I'm saying, I think you two have got this one. I think you're old enough to sort this one out. And I walk away and it sort of sizzles, it frizzles out. So just that moment, you're choosing a response instead of reaction. And it's really, really powerful. We're constantly, life is a series of these events, and some of it will cause a great deal of stress. And even in those moments, the big, big moments when a challenges come, they're the ones like that can really throw you off and put you on guard. But they're the moments I ask and invite you just to try, sit with it, breathe into it, just say, okay, I can respond, or walk away if you've got an email that you need to respond to that's really upset you, then come back to it. Take a couple of deep breaths and come back to it at a later stage, respond to it instead.
Love that. I love that idea that they are waiting for our response to their checking. It reminds me of when they were toddlers, and if they fell, there was that moment where as my kids were toddlers, they would look up at mum
Yeah.
to see how big my reaction would be to
Yeah.
determine how much they would cry. And
Yes.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
similar thing, it's like, okay, what is it my a reaction or can I respond in a different way? So yeah.
It's like being a going the plane analogy is coming up again. But it's like being on a plane and you hit the turbulence and you
Mm.
automatically look at the air hostesses to see
To
if they're like
see.
panicking. You're like, oh, is there any reason? Because if they're panicking, then you know you've got every right to be panicking. But
Yeah.
if they're calm, and obviously that's years of training, they've got to keep calm. We've got to be the same. We're the air hostesses. Like
Yeah.
we've got to keep that just that calm present. We've got to be that soft landing space for them
Yeah.
so that they look at us and they, oh, okay, it's all good. It's all
Yeah.
good.
Nice.
So my top five sort of suggestions and sort of tools for handling these moments of overwhelm is the first one is help them release some energy. In moments of overwhelm, there's a lot of energy going on. So even things like shaking hands, star jumps, taking them out, shoes and socks off, get their feet connected to the earth, grounding. All of those things will help them release some of the pent up energy. Another way to think of emotions is energy in motion. So it's just energy
Mm.
moving through our body. So how can you help them get some of this energy out? And it could be jumping in the pool is a great one if you're lucky enough to have a pool, or taking them for a swim, or kick the ball, or whatever it might be, taking the dog for a walk. The next one is if there's, increased anxiety, if you can see they're sort of in overthinking or in their head a lot, you want to help them come back into their body, into their full, into anchor into their body. And so you've probably heard of this one, Joy, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 activity. So looking at five things, looking around the room that they're in for five things they can see, and then four things that they can hear, three things that they can touch, two things that they can smell, and then one thing that they can taste. And if there's nothing there to taste, one thing that they can think about tasting. So this just is using, obviously, engaging your five senses, engaging their five senses, and bringing them back into their body. Because remember, that's all we have, this present moment. And this present moment is in our body. It's not in our thinking mind, which is getting stressed about something that might not even happen. It's about coming back into the body and being grounded and present in that. So that's a really useful little one, excuse me, for children that are a little bit anxious. The next one is breathe with them. Have you ever been told, Joy, to calm down?
And then it just gets even worse.
Did it work? Did
Did
it
not
work?
work.
Oh, no. It has the opposite effect. Like telling someone to calm down is adding fuel.
Mm.
So the invitation here is to breathe with them. Like I've had moments with my daughter and I've just said to her, looked at like given her my full eye contact and said to just breathe with me, put your one hand here, one hand here, and we're just going to breathe. And then those mirror neurons, even if she's fighting it, she might not do it straight away, but eventually that's going to help regulate. It's that co-regulation. It's going to help her feel much more secure and safe in her body, and calm down. And if you can get her to take him or her or whoever it is to take some of those deep breaths. Again, remember you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system. So you're not just breathing for the sake of breathing, you're breathing to trigger that relaxation response, because that is the closest thing you'll ever find to a pause button in your body and your brain. So invite them to breathe, sit with them. If there is a moment where they've, flipped their lid and they're in fight, flight, freeze, sit with them. You don't want to engage if it's a shouting match. You don't want to leave them either. Just sit with them, sit in the room. I'm just going to sit here in the corner of the room. I'm going to be here. This is going to pass. You're going to be okay. And breathe with them. Okay. So those two fit really nicely together. and just reassuring them, coming back to it's okay, this is going to pass. I know you're upset now, but it will pass. And then reframing with time. So you don't want to, after this, say there's a key moment, they've flipped their lid, you've breathed with them, you sat with them, it's all passed. You don't want to then dive straight in with, okay, let's talk about it. Like, give them
Not ready. Too
space.
soon. Too soon.
Too soon. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, we're validated, we've been through it now. And so they're going to need some time to rest. Like I'm sure you've experienced, and people that are on the call have experienced times when you've gone into that fight, flight, freeze, and it's exhausting. Your body then needs to decompress, it needs to restore itself. So just go off, give them some time in. Say, don't put them in time out. You're saying maybe go and have some time in. Do you want to you want to lie? Do you want to listen to some nice calming music is always helpful. Help them get back into that. And then later on, when they may be out playing basketball and they're back in the flow of life and they're having a good time and they're happy again, then that's a great time to say, earlier, yesterday, when you had that moment and you got really upset, are you okay to talk about it now? Okay, so I always do it when I can see they're I don't want to, it's not to bring them down, but their resilience is up, they're in their flow, they're happy, energetic. And I always, do you mind if we have a chat now about what happened the other day? And so choose your moment to reframe it. And then you're just going to say to them, is there anything I could do differently to support you next time? What happened? Tell me what was happening in your body. So to help them understand, this goes back to the mindfulness in your body. Help me understand what was happening in your body. Help me understand what was happening in your thinking, because remember, feelings, your thinking, their behavior is also connected. And often as parents, all we're seeing is behavior, and we're not really exploring all the stuff that's happened before that behavior. So this is the invitation to go back in and say, right, so I saw this massive tantrum or whatever it was. Tell me, what were you thinking about? What was going on inside your body? What happened in the lead up to that event, and help them understand what was going on with it. And then say, what do you think we could do differently to support you? So yeah, I think they're probably some good tools to help parents and carers get started.
Oh, Jackie, could I have you in my back pocket whenever these things happen? I've written copious notes down because all of this is so practical. Yeah, and I can envisage too at whatever age. Like I can see it really applying to both my kids and as they get older even more so. So I'm so grateful that you're sharing such practical wisdom with us.
Mm.
For those on the call who want to continue this, especially over time, because as you said, it's something that you can build on, stack on. You start with one thing from today, but
Yeah.
grow that and nurture that garden. So how do people do this over time?
Yes, start small. So choose something. There might have been one thing that sort of tweaked your interest in tonight's session. So start with that. And I always say, once you start with one thing, it sort of has a ripple effect, because you go, I'm going to start with just checking in the morning and checking in the night. And then when I check in, I might write a few things down. And so then you're journaling. And then you're like, I'm going to start writing down what I'm grateful for. And so you can see how you start, you just sort of slowly tweaking the way you are thinking and approaching. The situations might be exactly the same. You're just choosing to respond differently. So start small and then just stack these micro moments. And then, yeah, help your children. I think there's a lot of value to helping them release some of the energy before you engage with the breathing exercise as well. I've been in classrooms where we go, they come straight in and you put on the meditation practice. And you've got the boys in the class and they're all sort of all over the
They've
place.
still got energy to burn trying to
Yeah.
move.
So I always start with a bit of a shake the tree, get them grounded, just release some of the energy, and then get them sitting on the floor. And I always say my kids won't meditate. Well, are they seeing you meditate? Do you like I used to, say, do you want to come and meditate? They'd lie next to me. There's some great apps with your own self-care. I mean, go to the Gotcha for Life app because it's got some great tools, some great practices. It will guide you and you can try all of these things out. Again, they're micro moments that can start creating a big difference in your personal well-being. And I'm talking about gardens. This is so important to fill your watering can first. Forget the cup. We need watering cans. There's way too much happening in the world. We need like these big, like camping things, you fill it up, fill up the watering can. So make sure you fill up your watering can first, and then with the overflow, because there will be overflow, that's when you can start, giving that to your loved ones. And they need that. They need you to be well, so that, they can do well as well, because we are, as parents, we are catalysts for how they're thinking and feeling as well. It's a tough job, and everything I guarantee, I promise you, everything I'm talking about, I have tried and tested on my own two poor children, but some of it works better than others. But just test it out, see how you go.
Absolutely. Meg just asked the question, what was the app that you just mentioned? Meg, it's Gotcha for Life's app. So Jacqui, you know more. You know all about this. I know all about it.
Yes, I've actually got some meditation practices on there as well. But there's prompts there, there's gratitude practices. It's the Gotcha for Life app. It's a free app, and it is such a good place to start in your journey to well-being. So as a parent, as a carer, as a teacher, download it on your phone and then just have a go and explore that. And then some of these tools and tips that you learn, then you start having conversations with your own children.
And
Um,
my kids see me use it because the first thing they'll
Good.
see me do is the check-in. And
Yeah,
even just that
yeah,
little practice of like, how are you feeling today? It's teaching me, but also them to
yeah,
ask that question, to check in with yourself. How are you feeling
yeah,
today? And we
yeah,
recently bought a cushion with the emotions wheel on it. And now both of the kids, like as a starter in our evening, I'll say, what were your feelings today? Knowing that through the day they would have had different feelings. And so for my 9-year-old especially, that's really helpful for him to just identify like, oh, during recess I was frustrated, but
yeah.
during this subject or in this type of class I was really excited. And so even just that, like getting familiar is
Absolutely,
really fun.
absolutely. And we talk about our physical health. We talk about
Mm.
our diets and what we're doing and sleep and things like that. So it just makes sense to be talking about our mental health and even our social health as well, like how your relationships, how are your boundaries, and all of those sorts of things, bringing those into conversation as well, because it all has an impact on your sense of well-being, all of it. So my top tips for the holiday season, drum roll, sit with your own emotions. So we all
So
know
important.
that this is a time of heightened emotions, that things can go up, they can come back down. There's a lot going on with family. So sit with it and breathe. If you need some space, don't feel obligated all the time. It's okay to say no to things, opt out, and just give yourself some precious space as well. Connect with your child before you give directions, instructions, which is just try it because it really does work if that connection. Practice time in, pause, breathe, take the 3 deep breaths. Even try that one if you've got some stuff to send at the post office, and you walk in and the queue's out the door. That's perfect opportunity. See, we get the chance to test this stuff out all the time during our daily lives, especially in the city. Get in the car and you're like, breathe. Get to the post office, you're like, breathe. So we're constant reminders to just stop and breathe, and ask for help, whether it be from your partner, your children, a friend. Create your own mindful micro moments for your family. And so I do a magical memories jar, and we tip it out New Year's Eve and read through all the things that we've got, micro memories or micro moments throughout the year. And then start a new jar on New Year's Day. So that can be really simple. Go to Kmart, buy yourself a cheap little jar. That can be a really top tip for this holiday season. Start it on New Year's Day. and then have that for next year. Especially if your kids are a bit younger, they will love it. They will absolutely love it. I remember we flew to the UK one year for Christmas, and my daughter insisted that I tip everything out and bring it with us. Yeah, yeah.
That's beautiful.
So that's it, Joy. That's my yeah, hopefully that's helped and can guide people over this festive season.
Oh, it has definitely helped me. I am certain it is helping the people who have joined us live and anyone who is going to watch this recording later. Thank you so much, Jacqui. I think this has been such a power hour for me personally. If anybody is online and has any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat. I am also going to say that I know you have some incredible resources and
Oh
things,
yes,
wisdom that you have shared with the world long before this webinar. So this is how you can contact the amazing Jacqui and find her wonderful book. We also have resources on the Gotcha for Life website all around mindfulness, the connection quest, the treasure hunt, all of those are for parents. The mental fitness gym, if you look up Gotcha for Life's app, that's also available. And I love that it's free and it's something that we tap into every day. So all of these things are just part of again building those little habits, those and starting to build that whole lifestyle really of mindfulness and
that's
resilience. So
that's exactly right, Joy. It starts off as these micro moments. Before long, it's like your whole day is looking for moments of, it's so easy with the way things are to get caught up with what's going wrong. So, this is an invitation to start to approach it a little bit differently, and it's a gift. It really is.
I often say to my kids, it's a lot like Spotto, like in the car. We play Spotto in the car all the time where you look for the yellow car. And when you're not playing Spotto, you could pass a million yellow cars. But once you start to play Spotto, you find them everywhere. And it's the same for those little moments where if you
That's
can, if when you bring your attention there, you start to find those moments. And then they become like the thing that kind of anchors me through the day. So
yeah.
yeah, that beauty, it's so simple, but so effective.
Yeah, yeah. All right. And just, the invitation, look after your own garden, look after your own well-being, and know that, you can't control everything. I know
Mm.
Gotcha have got a good resources, circles of control around what can we control, what can we influence, what can't we control. And I always come back to the first thing you can control is your breath. There's so many things
Mm.
we cannot control. People, um, situations, external events that we're never going to be able to control, even our kids. You'd like to think you're in control, but you're not.
Definitely not in my control.
No, no. But one thing you can control is your reactions, your breath, the
Mm.
way you choose to respond to all of these situations. And that's really what mindfulness is about, is just approaching it with that. I'm just going to stand back. I'm going to be the observer of this situation and just notice what's going on.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Jacqui. I feel like we got through that so quickly. That hour just flew by for me. And thank you to all those people who've left wonderful comments in the chat too. Thank you for the insights, the practical tools. I'm gonna go back over my notes and go back over these slides and just like jot these down. So it's like having a little mini Jacqui in my pocket every day. I
Well,
really.
you'd soon get sick of that, Joy.
I don't know. You'd remind me to breathe every time I hit a queue,
Yep,
whether
absolutely. I'll
it's a
ring here.
click and
Look,
collect or at the post office.
there we go. My little bell.
I love it. Well,
Uh,
I appreciate everyone for joining us this evening. I know it's a tricky time of year, so the fact that you stayed with us is I'm so grateful
yes.
and thank you for your time and your wisdom and all the experience that you shared with us tonight, Jacqui. I know that you're going to leave so many families feeling very inspired and so many parents just so much more equipped to create those meaningful moments with their families. So thank you and thank you everyone for joining us this evening.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Joy. Thanks for your words of wisdom as well. And best of luck, everybody, with the school holidays and the festive season.
Thank you.